on curing karmic disease. Namo Myo Renge Kyo. As we know, everything, all phenomena are karma, right? Expressions of potential. Nichiren says, I see from your letter that you have been stricken with a painful affliction. On one hand, knowing that you are in agony grieves me. Absolutely. I feel bad for you, yeah? But on the other, I am delighted. What? How can you be delighted that I am struggling so much? The Vimalakirti Sutra states, at that time the wealthy Vimalakirti thought to himself, I am ill, lying on my bed, and yet why does not the world-honored one, a man of great compassion, not take pity on me? Right? Why is he not saving me? Why is Buddha-ness not saving me? At that time, Shakyamuni Buddha said to Manjushri, go visit Vimalakirti and inquire after his illness. This is the Buddha-ness working behind the scenes in your experience of these expressions of potential. It's working. Don't doubt it. But this illness is apparent for a purpose, a reason. Maybe we don't give it purpose or reason so much as it obviates something in the potential which we need to face, to change, to ameliorate, to grow through. Right? Let's leave it at that. The Nirvana Sutra says, quote, at that time, the thus come one assumed the appearance of one who is ill in body and lay on his right side like a sick man, end quote. We've seen sculptures and statues of that, representing that, yeah? The Lotus Sutra states, quote, the thus come one is well and happy, with few ills and few worries. Not none, few. The 8th volume of the Great Concentration and Insight states, Vimalakirti laid on his sickbed in Vaisali, making his illness a pretext to promote the teachings. Pretext might be a word we interpret as a trick or a manipulation, but I don't think it's used that way here. It's used as in, I am struggling with an illness, and that alone, because of natural compassion in the human being, will attract aid, will attract visitations, just as Shakyamuni urged Manjushri to go and check on him. And using the opportunity of these people coming to see him with goodwill, he can explore the teachings of Shakyamuni's enlightenment, Buddha-ness, to teach, to offer, to share insights into the Buddha way. Vimalakirti lay on his sickbed to promote the teaching. Through his death, the thus come one taught the eternity of life, and through illness, the power of Buddhism. It also says there are 6 causes of illness. Now, this refers to Shakyamuni's extinction, right? And on his deathbed, he spoke the Nirvana Sutra, again bolstering what he had taught in the Lotus Sutra and telling people, you're on your own now, you need to do this for yourself. That has always been the purpose of this teaching. But people, we glom on to icons and leaders, and we make them the person we follow instead of following Buddha-ness, inherent in ourselves. And so Shakyamuni's entire life is the example of this. And in his death, put a final stamp on it. You don't need me to attain enlightenment. It's already there. Just stay focused, right? That's what that's saying. And through illness, he's showing the power of that very mechanism. With Buddha-ness, you can overcome your obstacles in life. What are the 6 causes of illness? 1, disharmony of the 4 elements. Basically, illnesses are when your immune system, when your whatever is going on in your samsaric body is out of balance. Things are not aligned for your health, right? Simply. 2, improper eating or drinking. How many times have we overeaten and we feel ill and sick? That's illness, that's sickness, hangover, drinking, right? The simplest form of over drinking, but drinking from a standpoint also of clouding the mind. How many car accidents and other heinous things, losing a limb at work or whatever, can be attributed to an unfocused mind? 3, inappropriate practice of seated meditation, right? Yeah, even to meditate improperly is to condition the body and mind. And if your mind isn't right, again, about how and why and what your goal is in meditation is off, you're not likely to condition your body and mind correctly, and you may become ill from that, yeah? Attacked by demons. In other words, maybe you're mugged. Maybe you're right. The situation in your life has enough negativity, negative influences. Maybe you're born into a country at war. All of these things that are non-life affirming can impose upon you everything from an upset stomach to an ulcer to death, right? 5, the work of a difficult or an enemy not just in person but in life, just as, again, that's very similar to the being caught up in a negative situation, whether it be war, mugging, or just competition at work, blah, blah, blah. And 6, ultimately, the effects of karma. Well, what is that? That's just an instantiation of potential that has managed to instantiate without resistance into your life so that you can then see it and apply your Buddha nature to mollify it, to change it, to use it for improvement, to use it for health, right? Which our body does. A lot of sicknesses that we experience throughout our lives, our immune system creates new antibodies, right? T cells, so on and so forth, to maintain health, right? The body is challenged and it reacts, just as our minds do. And it could be said that without something to resist, we wouldn't create, we wouldn't become aware of, we wouldn't bolster our health, our good mindset, our experience of life as a total precious thing to be experienced, right? We would be overwhelmed and allow ourselves to be buried, quite literally, by challenges. So, the Nirvana Sutra reads, there are 3 types of people whose illness is extremely difficult to cure. The first is those who slander the great vehicle. That's obvious. The second, those who commit the 5 cardinal sins. And the third, ichantikas, or persons of incorrigible disbelief. These 3 categories of illness are the gravest in the world. And I know I'll catch hell for this from some people, but to be an ichantika, to have incorrigible disbelief of the powers of Buddhism, of our own enlightenment, includes addictions. People who fall under the category who would call themselves addicts, and you know by now, you should, that I despise that word, because addiction is a decision. And it's a decision based on samsaric attachment. Now, I know, before you start, I can hear the keys. Yes, those attachments can lead to cirrhosis of the liver, can lead to all kinds of illnesses where you've actually caused damage to your body and mind. And I still maintain that even though that damage now needs to be treated, right? Buddhism isn't magic. I never said it was. I maintain always that it is not magic. It's a tool. And if you've been so committed to damaging your body that you've actually succeeded, then you may need to seek professional help to repair that damage. But mentally, Buddhism is about the mind. You haven't repaired the damage until you've repaired your mind. And that mind that refuses to see the potential of Buddha-ness in ourselves, that mind, that's an ichantika. That mind obstacle is a stubborn disbelief, right? Because addictions are born of a giving up. They're born of, I need to find joy, happiness, fulfillment outside of my mind. That's an ichantika. You refuse to understand that your mind controls all. So Buddhism says even that, as damaging as that can be, if you change it, you can address the real dis-ease here. Now, again, if you've harmed yourself to the point of the very fabric of the body that supports your life, then yeah, you seek help, seek professionals. But they won't fix your mind, the source of that problem, the ichantika source. Okay? I hope I'm clear on that now. It also states, quote, one who creates negative karma, right? Life unaffirming karma in this life will surely suffer in hell. Well, duh. If you're an ichantika, or you're somebody who actively slanders Myoho Renge Kyo, the way of Buddhism, the way of enlightening one's mind, then you choose, basically, to stay in samsara, the Avicii hell, the place where you're constantly attached to avarice, right? You're suffering. That's life. For Four Noble Truths, the first statement Shakyamuni says, life is dukkha. Not because it has to be, but because its default state is avarice, attachment, desire. That's what created life in the first place. So, at least recognize that that's the way life is as an organism, as a manifestation. Now, though, because you have a sentient mind, you can also see it, and you can switch your perspective to see it as, oh my goodness, what a glorious opportunity. How amazing is this? You see, it's the mind at work. You either buy into the constant animal hunger, right, the lower worlds, or you distance yourself just a little bit, and you see them as the amazing functions of life manifesting moment to moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. So simple, right? But by making offerings to the three treasures, which we've already discussed, the three treasures, one avoids falling into that hell of experience and receives the retribution in this life in the form of afflictions of the head, eye, or back. So in other words, that karma doesn't go away, but instead of being completely enveloped in it and suffering, you can now see it as an affliction of some sort that you can conquer. Right? We still get obstacles in life. We still have struggles to go through, but that's life. Keep your mind above it. Keep your mind observing it rather than sinking into it, and you can mollify it. You can use it. As Vimalakirti did. Oh, I'm ill. Let me use it as a pretext, an excuse, an opportunity to teach Buddhism. Turning poison into medicine, see? Right there. Hendokuyaku. Great concentration and insight states, this is Tendai now, even if one has committed grave offenses, the retribution can be lessened in this life. Thus, illness occurs when evil karma or negative karma, or was the word I like to use, repercussions of your, not the karma walking around in the world looking to make things bad for you. Karma's karma, it's energy manifesting. But what this should say is and it does say, it says, if you've committed a grave offense, in other words, you've imprinted that on the karma, now the karma will supply you with the repercussion of that. Simple. Action, reaction, yes? It's about to be dissipated. In his treatise on the great perfection of wisdom, Bodhisattva Nagarjuna says, question, if that is so, then none of the sutras from the Flower Garland to the Wisdom Sutras is a secret teaching, but the Lotus Sutra is secret. Secret is a word that's used often just to mean not plainly visible. You have to experience it. The Lotus Sutra is like a great physician who can change poison into medicine. There it is again. Tendai explained the quotation further by saying, this can be likened to a skilled physician who can change poison into medicine. That persons of the two vehicles were given the prophecy of their enlightenment in this sutra means that it can change poison into medicine. This is what great perfection of wisdom means when it says, quote, the various sutras are not secret teachings, only the Lotus Sutra is secret, end quote. Once again, it is the invocation of one's Buddha-ness that can master life. It is the expression of the engine of life. Align your mind with this, and you can overcome anything manifesting. Why can't I keep that word in my mind? Any repercussions you might experience from your karmic stream, your momentum, yeah? Great Concentration and Insight says, quote, the Lotus Sutra can cure them illnesses, which is why it is called myo, or wonderful. Why myo? Because the potential is always there. Miao says, quote, because it can cure what is thought to be incurable, it is called myo, or wonderful. It's wonderful. Why? Because potential doesn't have any good or bad or indifferent attached to it. It simply needs to manifest. And when it's manifesting poorly, however that's judged, you will understand it as a repercussion, not as some mystical thing being imposed on you. It comes from cause-effect. So by applying cause-effect Buddha-ness to it, it can be addressed, mollified, modified into a benefit rather than a simple repercussion to be suffered. And the suffering, once again, avicii hell. It's a very simple formula. The Nirvana Sutra states, quote, King Ajatashatru of the Rajagriha was wicked by nature. He just had a terrible temperament, right? He killed his father, and thereafter, in a fit of remorse, he developed a high fever. Because of the fever from remorse, boils broke out all over his entire body, kind of like shingles, yeah? They were foul and evil smelling, terrible smelling, evil, so that none would come near. Well, there's an effect that the sick person might not think about, but part of the illness, right? Pushing people away. At that time, his mother, Vaidehi, tried to help by applying various medicines, but this only made the boils worse. What a horrible experience. There appeared to be no hope of recovery. Now, you notice this illness, it didn't just appear out of nowhere. Right? He killed his father. But killing his father didn't make him break out in boils. Don't miss the story here. The boils broke out because of his state of mind after he killed his father. Now, here it says it was remorse, but could you imagine the self-torture he went through? And he manifested that repercussion of the karmic cause he made as this horrible physical illness. This is talked about a lot in Buddhism, but never really think it through. The king said to his mother, "These boils have their origin in the mind." Wow, wiser than we would have expected, right? They do not arise from the four elements. Though people say that there is a physician who can cure them, that could not be possible. Be then the world-honored one, the compassionate and merciful teacher, entered into the moon-loving meditation for the king's sake. Upon entering meditation, he emitted a brilliant ray of light. This ray of clear coolness fell upon the body of the king, and instantly the boils were healed. Okay, this is hyperbole, right? But what it's saying is the attempt to use his Buddha-ness, King Ajatashatru's Buddha-ness, was the only way, altering his mind, that he could address this affliction, this repercussion of the horrible cause he made, taking a life. Not only a life, but his father's life. The Lotus Sutra of the Wonderful Law, which is the great wisdom of equality, says in its 7th volume, this sutra provides good medicine for the ills of the people of Jambudvipa. If a person who has an illness is able to hear this sutra, then his illness will be wiped out and he will know neither old age nor death. Again, this is a mental experience, right? Buddhism is about the mind. In light of the above quotation, it would seem that your illness cannot have originated in anything other than the 6 causes of disease. It falls into one of those categories, or multiple. I will set aside the first 5 causes for the moment. Illnesses of the 6th, which result from repercussions of karma, are the most difficult to cure. And yet they're the most obvious, aren't they? They vary in severity, and one cannot make any fixed pronouncements, but we know that the gravest illness result from the karma created by slandering the Lotus Sutra. It's not created karma, it's influence of karma, right? Even Shen Nung, Huang Ti, Huai To, and Pian Chue threw up their hands, and water holder, water carrier, Jivaka, and Vimalakirti likewise kept silent. Such illnesses can only be cured by the good medicine of the one Buddha Shakyamuni's Lotus Sutra, as the sutra itself explains. The Nirvana Sutra, referring to the Lotus Sutra, states, quote, even the offense of slandering this correct teaching will be eradicated if one repents and professes a resolute mind in the correct teaching. No teaching other than this correct teaching can save or protect one. For this reason, one should take a resolute mind in the correct teaching. The great teacher Cheng Shi said, the Nirvana Sutra is itself pointing to the Lotus Sutra and saying that it is the ultimate. He further said, quote, it is like the case of a person who falls to the ground, but who then pushes himself up from the ground and rises to his feet again. Thus, even though one may slander the correct teaching, one will eventually be saved from the evil paths, the lower paths, the samsaric suffering life. Bodhisattva Vasubandhu was originally a scholar of Hinayana Buddhism. In an effort to prevent Mahayana Buddhism from spreading throughout the 5 regions of India, he wrote 500 treatises on the Hinayana. Later, however, he encountered Bodhisattva Asanga and abandoned his erroneous views on the spot. Facing Asanga, he said that in order to eradicate this offense, all at once, he wanted to cut out his own tongue for ever spoken against the Mahayana, right? Asanga stopped him, saying, Vasubandhu, use that tongue to praise the Mahayana. Vasubandhu immediately wrote 500 Mahayana treatises in which he refuted Hinayana. He also made a vow that as long as he lived, he would never place the Hinayana teachings on his tongue. In this way, he eradicated his past offense, his influence on karma, and was later reborn in the skies and space where Bodhisattva Maitreya dwells. He changed his karma. He altered his experience of karma, right, from his previous causes, and was now making new causes to redirect the momentum of his life, life-affirming, one vehicle affirming, so he could experience the rest of his life awakened, enlightened, and bodhisattva, helping others to see the same. Excuse me. Bodhisattva Ashvaghosha, a native of eastern India, was 13th among the successors of Shakyamuni Buddha's teachings. At one time, Ashvaghosha had been a leader of Brahmanism. Now, understand, Hinayana, Brahmanism, these examples are about slandering the Lotus Sutra, simply by ignoring it, by casting it aside, because they should know better. All of us have Buddha-ness. So did they, but they were ignoring it actively. They didn't have to point out the Lotus Sutra as bad or the very fact that they ignored it. They were slandering, was it the Lotus Sutra that they hurt, they harmed? No, it's their own enlightenment. But by their activity as a teacher, they were harming others' potential to the one vehicle. That, a much more grave offense, yes? When he debated with the Buddhist monk Punyayashas over the validity of their respective teachings, however, he quickly realized the superiority of Buddhist teaching. Ashvaghosha was prepared to behead himself in order to pay for his past offense, saying, quote, "I have been my own worst enemy, leading myself to hell." Right? Samsaric suffering. But Punyayashas admonished him, saying, "Ashvaghosha, do not behead yourself. Use that head and mouth to praise Mahayana. Alter your course. Don't end it here. You just learned something. Use it," right? The awakening of a resolute mind in the Mahayana, in which he refuted Brahmanism and Hinayana, this marked the beginning of the spread of Mahayana Buddhism in India. It's a very celebrated point in history with different stories about it, but that's the bottom line, yeah? How are we now on time? The great teacher Chitsang of Chixiangsu Temple was among the most outstanding scholars in China. He was the founder of the Three Treatises School and lived on Mount Huiqi in Wu. Believing that none could equal him in knowledge, he raised the banner of his pride to its highest. He challenged the great teacher Tendai to discuss the meaning of the passage that states, quote, "Among the sutras I have preached, now preach, and will preach, this Lotus Sutra is the most difficult to believe and the most difficult to understand," right? We've heard that quote many, many times. In the debate, Chitsang was soundly defeated and thereupon renounced his misguided beliefs. In order to expiate his serious offensive slander of the correct teaching and of those who upheld it, he gathered more than 100 eminent scholars and begged the great teacher Tendai, Chi-che, to lecture to them. "Show us the way. We were misguided. You've proven that. Please educate us." Right? Chitsang used his body as a bridge for the great teacher Tendai to climb onto the preaching platform, supporting Tendai's feet with his head. Moreover, he served Tendai for 7 years, cutting firewood and drawing water for him. He ceased giving lectures of his own, dispersed his followers, and in order to purge himself of his great conceit, refrained from reciting the Lotus Sutra. I don't see that he should have done that, but after the great teacher Tendai's death, Chitsang had an audience with the emperor of Sui dynasty to pay his respects. As he was leaving, he clutched his majesty's knees and tearfully bade him farewell. Sometime later, Chitsang looked into an old mirror and, seeing his reflection, condemned himself for his past errors. All these many acts of penitence were done to eradicate his karmic disease. He must have felt tremendous guilt over his conceit. But the only thing necessary was for him to alter his mind to teach the one vehicle. But this is an example again of contrition, right? And somebody whose ego is that high probably needs to experience that kind of contrition. One would hope, though, with the practice of Buddhism, that they could come out of that as an efficient, a good teacher, bodhisattva, right? Undoubtedly, his example is seen as that, although it seems to fall a little bit short. It's no less a strong, right, story. The Lotus, the wonderful sutra of the single vehicle, is the golden words of the three kinds of Buddhas. Right? Always the three Buddhas: manifest, dharma, and reward, right? Likened to a bright jewel, it ranks highest among all the sutras that, quote, "I have preached, now preach, will preach," end quote. There are passages in the Lotus Sutra that say, quote, "Among the sutras, it, the Lotus Sutra, holds the highest place, and among those sutras, the Lotus is the foremost. The great teacher Dengyo said that the Lotus Sutra is the school founded by Shakyamuni Buddha himself. In other words, the Lotus Sutra is an expression of Shakyamuni's own enlightenment, that we might use this method, each one of us, no matter what our state of being, right? What culture, what karma, blah, blah, blah. All sentient minds and insentient, but let's stick to human sentient minds, can and should experience life through our Buddha, our Gohonzon mind, our Buddha-ness, yes? I have made a thorough study of the various true word sutras, such as the Mahavarachana, the Diamond Crown, the Susiddhikara, but have found nothing written in them to compare with the above passages of the Lotus Sutra. The claim that these sutras are superior to the Lotus appears to be no more than a prejudiced view held by Shanwu Wei, Chinkang Chi, Pukung, Kobo, Chikaku, and Chisho. From this we realize that the true intent of the Buddha's Shakyamuni and Mahavarachana lay just in the supremacy of the Lotus Sutra. When the three great teachers, Kobo, Chikaku, and Chisho, the founders of the true word teachings in Japan, went to China during the Tang Dynasty, they inherited from Hui Kuo and Fa Chuan the deceptions and delusions originally held, page-turning karma, originally held by the three Tripitaka masters, Shanwu Wei, Chinkang Chi, and Pukung. When on returning to Japan they propagated the Lotus Sutra and the true word teachings, they hid the brilliant moon of the Lotus Sutra, the supreme vehicle that surpasses all the other sutras of the past, present, and future, and showed the firefly glimmer of the true word mandalas of the two realms. Not only that, but they slandered the Lotus Sutra, saying that it was a work of childish theory and belonged to the region of darkness. These comments, however, were like a dagger turned against those who made them. It is not the Lotus, but the Mahavarachana Sutra that is filled with childish theory, and it is in the region of darkness. The founders of the true word teachings were warped to begin with, so how could their disciples and followers stand upright? Contamination at the source of a river will pollute its entire length. Because of this, the land of the sun has had a long, dark night, and the sun tree is now about to be blighted by an alien frost. And on that, yeah, he's going to go there. On that, we'll pause. We'll keep for the next video. What he's illustrating there, I hope you understand by now how these letters and teachings work. What he's illustrating there for this person he's talking to is that her past dedication to the true word school was in fact a slander, because here's Nichiren, he's teaching Lotus practice, Lotus method, Shakyamuni's teachings. All these teachers knew about it, but they diminished it. By participating in those schools of thought, this person has, maybe unwittingly, but certainly not unconsciously, right, put the Lotus Sutra aside, slandered it, quote unquote. So now she's, or he, I don't remember now, is experiencing illness. Well, look at it as an opportunity to recommit your mind to Buddha-ness, no matter what the outcome of this illness is, right? Get your mind right. The potential then to heal yourself of whatever this karmic repercussion is infallible. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. It's a tough lesson. It's hard to remember. But we need to remind ourselves of this truth, right? Especially if you're struggling mightily right now, right? Sometimes in life, there's some struggles that are very direct. Others seem like multitudinous. We don't know which way, what to do. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Chant, commit to Buddha-ness. Help others to see that. Virmalakirti. Anyone who comes around to help, will you chant with me? Please just chant with me, right? Don't ask much of them. Just chant with me. It's that easy. This method is so simple. Can I do anything for you? Yeah, just come over and chant with me for 15 minutes. Would you, please? That's all I need. Well, can I bring you anything? Just whatever you decide will be fine. Just come chant with me, please. That's what I need. And by so doing, opening their Buddha mind, yeah? But I'm not a Buddhist. Doesn't matter. Please, just come over, chant with me. Okay, I'll try it. Whatever. Yay. We tend to make these things so complicated. Simplify, simplify, simplify. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting this effort, right? Like, subscribe. It really helps to grow our Sangha. If you've done that recently, thank you so much. Those of you who've been here for a long time, you guys, I'm so proud of your practice. You're amazing, right? Don't forget, you can also support us paying the bills, by purchasing ebooks or print books, mandalas. Oh, and the free podcasts you can listen to. A lot of you prefer listening instead of watching these videos. It's more mobile, whatever. That's free, the Buddhahood podcast, yeah. And threefoldlotus.com. Lots of teaching materials there you can use to solve your doubts or use as implements to help you discuss with others, ask questions, right? Lots of free documents there on typical questions about Buddhist practice. I'm always adding to it too, so I'm trying to keep it contemporaneous. Thanks again. Please take care of your health. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Be kind, and I'll see you in the next one. Promise. Bye for now.